My name is Brandon. This is Born Again XJW, and today we have a special guest on the channel. We are going to be having Riley from Jexit 2020. He started a channel at kind of around the same time as I did, so it was kind of cool to see the growth of his channel and my channel. And I really like his respectful and thoughtful approach to the material that he puts forward in his videos. You always feel like you're listening to a nice conversation, and you walk away with a lot of information that gets you thinking. So if you would like to go ahead and check out his channel, I will also make sure I put a link in the description of this video and in the card below. All right, so Riley, I want to thank you so much for coming onto the channel. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Very good. So firstly, what I want to do is I sent you a list of questions, and you agreed to the terms. No, I'm just kidding. But, you know, obviously they're just like bullet points, and then that might lead us off on some side paths as far as discussion is concerned. But I guess what I wanted to ask you initially is what got you started thinking that you wanted to produce a YouTube channel as far as like after leaving, because that's kind of an enigma as far as like people fading.
Basically it was a really strong desire to pay it forward, because when I was waking up and I saw all of these YouTubers telling their stories and, you know, and sharing their experiences, it really helped me. You know, it wasn't easy. It was a really painful process at times, because, you know, the truth hurts.
Right.
Yeah. But it's better to be in pain knowing the truth than to be pain free and living a lie. So
right.
You know, I was really grateful for everything that they'd done, and I wanted to do the same for other people.
Okay, that's awesome. So it was kind of out of a heart of serving others, but then on top of it, would you say that there's been some sort of healing that's come through this process of making videos?
Absolutely. I mean, I found it extremely therapeutic, you know, telling my story. And I think when you've been through trauma and you're able to vocalize that experience, and it really helps you to understand what was done to you. And it's only after understanding what has happened to you that you can take the first steps towards healing from it. So yeah, it was a real benefit, you know, of making the videos.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to go ahead, and that was kind of a soft question, so we'll go ahead and jump into the first one. And I basically want this to be your story, your waking up process, because you know, like you were saying, in your waking up process, it was like when you were hearing people with similar stories, it was sort of therapeutic for you. And I feel exactly the same. For whatever reason, I can be on a drive towards work or working out at the gym and listening to stories about how people woke up from this false religion. So I don't know, maybe it's just a ex-Jehovah's Witness thing, but I find it, you know, therapeutic to have that sort of shared trauma experience, I guess you could say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very validating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, I want this to be your story, your waking up process. So firstly, how did you become a Jehovah's Witness?
Well, I was more or less, I call myself a born-in, but technically I wasn't born in. My mum started studying the Bible with witnesses when I was 2 years old. So
okay.
I don't remember anything before. So I consider myself a born-in witness. She studied the Bible with them for about 4 years and was baptized when I was around 6 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you, because I know you said you didn't really remember anything. Do you happen to remember any, like even a little holidays celebration before?
I vaguely remember one birthday and one Christmas, but it's such a vague memory. You know, I don't,
okay.
It's not really anything substantial.
Okay. Yeah, so that's kind of weird to actually having gotten to have experienced it one time and then to have that taken away from you.
Yeah.
Okay, so she studied for 4 years, and then she was baptized. I wonder why they let her get away with studying for only 4 years, or with not being baptized for 4 years.
I don't know. I mean, the fact that the sister who studied with my mum, she was a missionary. So I think that might have something to do with it. I'm just speculating, but she served in Papua New Guinea.
Okay.
So it may be the case that she wasn't always in the country, and my mum was reluctant to study with someone else. That might be a possible explanation, but I don't know for sure.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so how long were you a part of the Jehovah's Witnesses?
42 years, the first 42 years of my life, really. Yeah.
You said 32 or 42?
42. Yeah.
42. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible. Okay, so a lot can happen in 42 years. So I want to ask you, how high did you get in the organization? I mean, because me personally, I only got to be an unbaptized publisher, and of course, there's a lot of hours of service that go along with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, were you a ministerial servant? Were you an elder?
No, I was never appointed. I was just a publisher for that whole time. There were times when I was working towards, like reaching out, as they say.
Yeah.
There were times when I was doing that, but not necessarily because I actually wanted to, but because I felt that it was expected of me.
Okay.
You know, similar to the reason why I was baptized. I mean, I was baptized at age 13 because I felt like it was the right thing to do. I mean, I didn't have any doubts at that time that it was the truth, and I knew that it's something that I wanted to stay in. So why not, really? Those were my only considerations. I didn't really think about, you know, what it was that I wanted to do with my life. It was just that, you know, this is just what you do. I didn't know anything else.
Wow, 13.
Yeah.
That seems very young to me. I mean, I understand that that's kind of the norm. Like, we had someone in our congregation. I shouldn't say in our congregation. She was in our district. But I think she was 5 when she got baptized.
I remember you mentioning this in one of your videos. Yeah.
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 And they kept trotting her out, you know, in front of like every district
Like
convention
the model
or
child. Yeah.
assembly. They would just, you know, trot out this child and how young she was when she got baptized. But yeah, 13, it still just seems so young to me.
Yeah.
You have no clue who you are when you're 13.
No clue whatsoever. And the thing is, as well, is that baptism is a lifetime contract.
Yeah.
You know, a 13-year-old has no business entering into anything for the entire term of their life. You know.
It's basically like saying, "Hey, do you want a face tattoo?" when you're 13
Yeah.
years old. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So, what started to wake you up from the Jehovah's Witnesses?
Well, it started around 2013. I was going through a really turbulent period in my marriage at the time, and the elders in the congregation offered us assistance. But I felt that the assistance they were offering us, from my perspective, was extremely lacking. It was severely lacking, and it showed up a lot of what I call cracks in the elder arrangement, things that just didn't make sense to me, things that I felt were either unfair, unjust, or just impractical, you know, or just didn't make sense, and that it really undermined my faith in the fact, as I thought it was a fact, that this was Jehovah's one true organization. I just thought to myself, if it is Jehovah's one true organization, why is it managed so poorly?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, one excuse that witnesses always offer is, oh, well, it's just the faults of imperfect people. It's just imperfect human imperfections. I just think to myself,
That is a
it's
trigger
just
word for
such a
me.
cop out.
Yeah.
It's such a cop out, because if you believe that the Bible is perfect, the Bible was written by imperfect people. So if God's spirit can induce imperfect people to produce a perfect Bible, why can't it induce imperfect people to run a perfect organization despite their imperfections? It's just you can't have it both ways.
All good and fair questions, I think.
Yeah.
Wow. So 2013, some things were happening in your marriage. You reached out to the elders for assistance. And honestly, I mean, you and I both know it from being in, but my grandfather is actually an elder, and my oldest brother, I believe he's an elder. I don't know. We haven't spoken in some years, so I'm sort of like the anti-Brian. But basically, they're typically lay people, and this is for anybody who's watching the video who doesn't know. But they're typically managers at grocery stores. Not that I'm saying that there's anything wrong with that, but they're not highly qualified people when it comes to things like marriage counseling, or if someone is having suicidal thoughts, counseling them in any way that's meaningful. So, when Riley was reaching out for assistance, he had, how many brothers would you say you worked with? 2 or 3?
2 or 3, yeah.
Okay. So they're giving him these very, more than likely they were doing copy and paste responses from watchtowers,
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
basically just pushing magazines at you, and that was the counsel that you were receiving.
Yeah. And it just didn't work. In fact, it made things worse.
Yeah, I'm sure. Wow. So that was the beginnings where you started to see some cracks in the foundations of their teaching. And I would just say, when you said imperfect men, imperfect person, that's such a trigger word for me now, because they use it all the time. They prop themselves up like they're inspired, to the point of almost being like a prophet. And then when something doesn't take place, they say, well, we're imperfect people. They're just able to fall back on that every time a mistake is made.
Exactly. It's a scenario of all of the credit and none of the blame. When things go right, they want all of the credit. When things go wrong, it's like none of the blame. It's just human imperfection. Yeah.
It's madness, and it makes you want to smash your head against walls sometimes.
Definitely.
Okay, so that was the first in the process of waking you up. So did it continue on from there? Like, you started doing your own research online, or how did that go?
No, I didn't really do any research after that. I was just completely disillusioned. I mean, I started thinking about leaving. There was one time where I said to my wife at the time, "This is it. I'm not going anymore." But I didn't stick to that. I still continued going, but I was only going in body. I was only there in body. I wasn't there in mind or in spirit at all. In fact, there were a couple of times where my wife at the time caught me just like scrolling through Facebook at the during
While you were at the meeting.
I just wasn't there mentally. I was done mentally. I didn't disbelieve it. I didn't have any problem with the doctrines. I just had a lot of doubts in the way things are done, and a lot of questions, and my faith was shaken. But I couldn't give it my all. I was just warming the seats when I was there, and sometimes it was absolute agony to do that.
I was going to ask, I mean, what must it have been like, just sitting, just thinking this isn't it, and having to sit in that? There's such cold buildings. And...
Yeah, it was terrible. It was agony at times, especially when certain brothers would get up on the platform.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, brothers that I'd had issue with, it was extremely difficult.
Wow. Yeah, because I mean, I remember having a hard time with it as a child, and that's when I still thought that they were the truth.
Yeah.
But just because you were of the same era where we had 3 meetings a week, is that correct?
Oh yeah.
So you guys had the Bible study, theocratic ministry school, and Sunday was like the public talk and watchtower, right?
That's right.
Okay. So you were of the era of the 3 meetings a week, and you guys actually, like the Tuesday night Bible study, you would meet at someone's home. Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right, because I know that like some congregations, they would actually meet at the Kingdom Hall for the Bible study as well. Yeah, these new Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't have to go to as many meetings a week.
No, they don't.
And they
especially now with COVID. Yeah, exactly. It's all done on
Facebook
Zoom now.
sitting on your own couch.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's much easier to be a witness now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so after you, because obviously you spent some time where you were just going through the motions, and that sounds like it was agonizing.
It was.
So at what point do you think, because it's a brave step, it's a very brave step to start to question everything, you know what I mean? And I don't think that people give enough credit to anyone who's taken a good hard look at the things that they've grown up to believe, and how incredibly brave that is to question those things. So what would you say was the catalyst, or where you started as far as, you know, researching?
Well, it wasn't until probably about a year and a half after that. My marriage broke down in January of 2019, and it was really events following that that started making me, you know, research things. And um, the second step in me starting to question my faith was that I was defellowshipped in April of 2019,
Okay.
and and you know what it's like being a witness yourself, but you're completely shunned by your entire community. All of my closest friends, most of my immediate family are all witnesses, so I was isolated from them almost immediately. Um, but it was worldly people who really rallied round and offered me support and became my new support system, and that was completely foreign to me because I was always raised to believe that worldly people or non-witnesses are untrustworthy and wicked and just out to take advantage of you. And that ran contrary to what my experience was. And that was like the second nail in the coffin. It was like, I've been taught things that aren't true, you know. I had people. I mean, I was homeless after my marriage broke down. I was homeless for 2 months. I was living in my car, and I had such an amazing level of support from non-witness friends and extended family as well, that they showed me the kind of love and care that I was raised to believe only existed within the Jehovah's Witness faith.
Yeah.
And so what I was experiencing was just not true. It just wasn't in line with that belief.
Yeah.
And that made me think it's there's something that just isn't right. And then in May of 2019, I met my partner, and she was just like the most amazing, kind, caring, empathetic person I'd ever met in my entire life. It's something that I say to her regularly. I say, "You're the best person I know," and she genuinely is.
Well, you can tell how much you care when you speak about her on your videos. You light up for sure.
Yeah, I do, because she genuinely is like that, and I would have thought that nobody outside of the Jehovah's Witnesses could be this way.
Mhm.
So that, yeah, as I said, that was the second nail in the coffin.
I would say, I mean, again, let's take a step back, and I'll, basically say back what I heard. But you effectively, you got disfellowshipped. Your marriages. Are you going through like the divorce process, or you've already been?
No, I'm going through that at the moment.
Okay, so you get disfellowshipped. You are ostracized by your community, and I would say probably the blessing in disguise was the fact that the Jehovah's Witnesses have been teaching you your whole life that worldly people have sharp teeth, they're all
Yeah.
alcoholics, and they will all lie and cheat and steal from you. And then the very people who come to your rescue are the very people that they told you would never do such a thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, so were these coworkers? How did you, how did you form friendships outside of the Jehovah's Witnesses? Because that's discouraged.
Yeah, it is. It's strongly discouraged.
Mhm.
Yeah, they were mostly co-workers, people I currently worked with, or people I'd worked with in the past that I'd stayed in touch with. I knew that it wasn't. It was against the rules, so to speak, to have strong connections with people to the degree that I was having. But it's that cognitive dissonance thing. They were really nice and good people, always treated me well. I'd always gotten along with. So it didn't feel right to totally keep them at arm's length. It just
Right.
it just didn't feel right. So I maintained friendships with them even though I wasn't really supposed to.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, imagine being that coworker, and someone just comes out of a high control group, and they're like, I'm homeless. Like I mean, I think I remember one of your videos. You were saying that people were even kind enough as to like take care of your laundry needs for you.
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
That's amazing. That's so cool, and I'm so happy that you, uh, whether it was conscious or subconscious, formed that community.
Mm.
because that, what an incredible lifeline while you were in that period. And how long would you say that you were having to live out of your car?
For 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 months. It was difficult. It was difficult. I mean, it was by choice and by circumstance. It was a combination of both. There were a couple of witnesses who had offered me a room in their house, but I refused it because I didn't want them to be penalized in their congregations for harboring someone who had, left their marriage without scriptural grounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which was, I mean, maybe it's hard for people to understand who are witnesses. So again, if anyone's watching this video, basically, if anyone reaches out in kindness to someone who's been disfellowshipped, they're essentially marked or soft shunned, which means other people will start to think that they're spiritually weak. So, it's not that there weren't any witnesses who, offered you help, but you were thinking through and you were thinking, well, this is actually going to mark them in a sense.
Yeah,
so that's why
exactly.
You weren't able to accept that help. So the very systems that the Jehovah's Witnesses put in place to punish the disfellowship person are the very systems that can also drag other people into that same punishment.
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy stuff, Riley. So after, these worldly people came and were the ones who were helping you, when would you say, or where would you say you started as far as your research online in order to start dispelling some of these falsehoods?
Yeah. Well, there was one day I was scrolling through Facebook and I was looking up some old friend that I'd lost contact with. And, Facebook suggests makes friend suggestions to you. So I saw one profile of someone I knew when I was a witness. And I hadn't been in contact with her for a really long time. So I didn't know that she was no longer a witness. And her profile picture was a T-shirt similar to the one I'm wearing now. And it just said apostate on it. And I saw that and I was like terrified. I was literally scared and I just closed it down straight away. But it stuck in my head and I was asking myself questions and I was like, why would anybody in their right mind self-identify as an apostate as if it's something to be proud of?
Yeah.
I was like, I couldn't understand it because, in witness culture, an apostate is just like one rung below a demon. You're like
maybe even possibly worse. Maybe they are legion. And like, notice how you said I had to exit the page straight away after you saw that T-shirt.
Yeah.
Almost as if by looking at an apostate, the legion's just going to come out of them and infect the witness.
Exactly. Yeah. But it stuck in my head and it kept on every now and again. It would just come to my mind. And then there was one afternoon I was at home alone and I just thought to myself, I'm gonna look at her profile again. So I did, and then she had all of this anti-JW stuff on her Facebook. But I was really scared looking at it. I was physically shaking, but I wanted to know more. I wanted to know why she had become so against the witnesses. And then I gave myself permission to go on YouTube and then look up other, anti-JW stuff on YouTube. And I was terrified the whole time that I was doing it. I literally felt like I was opening up my heart to become evil.
Yes.
What kept coming to my mind is that scene in one of the Star Wars movies when Anakin is like starting his journey to the dark side, and I felt like that was me.
That's hilarious.
I felt like that was me. I felt like I was taking the first steps to becoming evil.
Yes.
But I had questions that I needed answers to, and I wasn't going to get them from anywhere else. So I just persevered and looked, and what I found out absolutely astonished me and turned my whole world upside down.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm trying to think because there were so many different things there. I love the Anakin reference, by the way, because I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. No, I want to go back to when you were talking about physically shaking while you were looking online.
Yeah.
You said this in one of your other videos where it was like literally battling your programming.
Yeah.
It's so funny that you said that, because when I was watching that video and you were talking about your hands were shaking as you were typing into the keyboard, it reminded me of, I don't know if you've ever been in a church since you've left.
I have. Yeah. Not
Okay.
since I've left. No, not since.
What's that?
Not since I've left, but I had been in a church before, like for
Okay.
a funeral or something.
Okay. So when I was Jehovah's Witness, I myself had never been in a church. In fact, I wouldn't even look at them, because I just thought the cross was a pagan symbol and all this other madness. So I just thought they were, houses of devil worship, that sort of,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So when I was dating Chelsea, though, she asked if I would go to her church with her. And of course, when you're in that dating phase, you'll do anything, like.
Yeah. I know. I went vegan.
Yeah, exactly. So she asked if I would go, and I had actually, at this point, I hadn't been to a Kingdom Hall in about 1.5, maybe 2 years. So
Right.
I had been away long enough to where some of the indoctrination was sort of wearing off. But I'll tell you, the entire morning that I was about to go to her church, I was angry. I was angry at everything. And when I walked into the church, I remember having to put my hand on the wall because I got vertigo.
Yeah.
And when I was looking around, I just felt physically ill, as if I was being infected with demons at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't surprise me at all. I completely understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when
So
you were just, oh, go ahead.
yeah, my hands were literally shaking as I was typing. My heart was racing. I was sweating. It was borderline panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's hard to describe it unless someone has had something like that programmed into their head their entire life, and then they're literally battling against it.
Yeah.
So my next question was going to be, who do you think you watched the most as far as your waking up process, or was it just kind of a bunch of everyone? Because like we've got JT and Lady C, critical thinkers, and then there's of course Lloyd Evans. He's one of the big ones. Who do you think you watched the most?
Overall, I've watched Lloyd Evans the most, but when I first started watching XJW videos, the very first channel I watched was Apostate Chick. I completely binge watched the entire channel in probably about a day, and I found her approach really good because she was funny. She was lighthearted, but at the same time her information was on point and her reasoning was just so logical. The next channel that I binged watched was Irregular Pioneer, and his first video, like his XJW testimony, as it were, was just so powerful. And he used to be an elder, and he said in the video himself that it was being an elder that woke him up, and seeing everything that happens behind the scenes that completely pulled back the curtain for him. And I thought that was such a powerful testimony.
Yeah.
Then one of his videos, my favorite video from his channel, was the one about funerals. He recorded this video after arriving home from a non-witness funeral, and he was so moved by the experience, he had to make a video about it then and there.
Wow.
And he was saying that witness funerals are nothing more than a recruitment tool. It's like an infomercial for the society. And that really resonated with me because as a witness, I'd given 2 funeral talks. And when I was looking at the guidelines for how a funeral talk should be delivered, I remember that the considerations or the amount of time you're supposed to spend speaking about the deceased was like that.
Yeah.
And the rest was like promoting the organization and telling people how great it would be to be a Jehovah's Witness. And so when he was giving his experience, that really struck a chord with me, because it's like, yeah, that's right. Because I remember when I was reading the guidelines for funeral talks, it was just like what he's saying.
Yeah.
And he made this statement. He said that even when you are dead, the organization still continues to use you to bring other people in. They don't just completely co-opt your life.
Wow.
Exactly the same thing with your death. Not even your death are you allowed to have. Not even your death is yours. your death is just a tool for them to use. And I was just like, wow. It was just like,
Yeah, that is
it,
wild.
it hit home so much.
That's crazy. So you said that was a regular Pioneer?
Irregular Pioneer, yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to
So
go and check it out.
that was the second channel that I watched. Other than that, there was Roz NYC. That was a really good channel. She was so sincere, and her, you know, her testimony was so heartfelt.
Mhm.
So that till today, that's still one of my favorite channels. She doesn't actively make any videos anymore, but I still sometimes I'll go back and rewatch the ones that she did. Yeah, there's so many.
I know it's hard to keep track
It is
because
hard to keep track. Yeah,
you start to search and then YouTube's algorithm it rewards that search with more
yeah,
similar channels, so
yeah.
you just start getting blasted with all these video ideas. And I'll be honest, like there's a couple of we're all sort of similar in the sense that we're all ex-JWs, but unfortunately I think that yeah, I mainly had a good congregation growing up. I don't really have any beefs with my congregation or anything like that. It was actually my immediate family was one of my waking up reasons, because they were the ones who were treating us so poorly while both my parents were disfellowshipped. So my congregation was fine. Never had any elders like yell at me or anything like that. It was just stumbling upon the fact that they have so many false teachings that is one of the things that woke me up. But there's a lot of people that this religion has really torn them apart. So there's a couple of people in the XJW community that are just so angry, and you can see it in their videos. And, it's unfortunate because, like you said, thankfully you stumbled upon the channels that were like really heartfelt testimonies and people
Yeah.
who are waking up and seem to be, healing in a good way. So I guess my next question is, how many of your family is still in the organization, and do they have any contact with you right now?
No, they don't. I have 4 children who are still in the organization, and my mother as well. And I don't have any contact with any of them whatsoever.
How long has it been?
2 years.
2 years, 4
Yeah.
children. And when you were in the process of waking up, or one of the last times that you had contact with them, do you think that maybe any one of them, as they get older or of the age where they can, leave home, do you think that any of them are secretly harboring doubts? Are you hopeful for any of your 4 children?
I suspect that one of them has doubts.
Okay.
But this particular one, when it comes to emotions, they play their cards very close to their chest.
Okay.
So if they are having doubts, I doubt that they would speak to, definitely not speak to me about it. I don't think they'll speak to their mum about it either. They probably either just keep it to themselves and just go through the motions, or confide in friends. Yeah. It just that one in particular, I think, may possibly have doubts. I'm not even 100% sure.
Okay. All right. Well, of course, I mean, my heart goes out to you for sure, because my own father, he, I'm number 4 out of 5, and I would say, I'm probably the only one aside from one of my older brothers who still makes, keeps contact with him. So I can imagine, I can only imagine how rough that is. So I'm sorry to hear that. But
Yeah,
of course, I am hoping and praying for the best case scenario, and the fact that all 4 of them wake up and want to have a relationship with you. I think that would be incredible.
Yeah, I sincerely hope so. It would be incredible.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I feel like lately when I've been watching a lot of the JW broadcasts, it seems like they're in a desperate state right now with all of the attacks on evil apostates. It really seems like they're ratcheting that up for some reason.
They are. They definitely are. I mean, it's really funny. Since waking up, when I look back to certain talks that were given and certain, things at the conventions and stuff, I can see the reasons behind them now.
Yes.
You know, because of the things that I've found out and the things that I've learned, I can definitely see where, oh, this particular talk, that was in response to this thing that happened, and
Yes.
that you know, that this change in direction, that was a result of this particular thing. And you can see that they're really playing catch up. You know, it's as if the pressure from former witnesses and from secular organizations and governmental authorities, they're really setting the pace and setting the tone for what the Watchtower organization is doing now. And everything they do, or almost everything they do now, is in response. So they are desperate. They're definitely on the back foot.
Yeah, they're very reactive, and I would say, you know, I'm happy that they're moving to primarily online, because you know, it kind of mirrors your situation a little bit, like how you were told that worldly people, and again, I do that in air quotes because I don't consider them worldly anymore, but worldly people and their thinking were the worst, and then you received kindness from them. That was
Yeah.
one of the things that sort of fractured, you know, like you said, that cognitive dissonance. Well, now they're moving their whole, you know, religion, if you can call it that, their book publishing online. So the majority of the witnesses are spending their time online. I think it's great, because the chances of you stumbling upon an XJW channel and actually watching it are now increased exponentially.
Exactly, absolutely. So yeah, let's pray to the algorithm gods.
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, legitimately, in my videos, when I'm doing rebuttals or anything like that, I do put in my hashtags jw.org.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, me too.
I'm okay, good, because that's what I'm hoping. I'm just hoping the more people who make videos and use that hashtag, that if someone types in jw.org, that along with their website, which obviously they pay for, but you know, maybe hopefully my video or someone else's video will pop up on their feed.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
very cool. All right. So how has your life changed after you left the group?
Oh boy, it's changed drastically. The first big change, I mean, apart from losing your whole entire community and family, the first big change I noticed was how much free time I had on my hands.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like I literally did not know what to do with myself.
Right, exactly.
Because the life of a witness is just so busy. No one who's not a witness would ever fully comprehend.
Right.
But witnesses are the busiest people on the planet, I'm sure.
Yes.
You know, so exiting that now, literally, it was just like the days just seemed to go on forever, and it was just, I literally did not know what to do with myself. So I started investing my time in hobbies and, you know, fun activities that I like to do, and it made such a big difference to, you know, my mental and emotional state. You know, I started taking martial arts lessons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was great. Obviously, as a witness, you can't do that. But it was, honestly, it was so good. It's so good. Not just a good physical activity for that. I mean, I love exercise. I love the gym, and well, when they were open before we were all, you know, sent to our rooms for being naughty.
Are you guys still shut down?
Yeah, we're still shut down here.
Oh, wow. What part of if you don't mind my asking, what part of the UK are you in?
London.
London, okay. Because Chelsea and I, we've been over there before.
Okay.
We got invited to. We're both professional dancers, and in our division, in our particular division, they invite only 8 couples around the world for this one division to come and compete in Blackpool.
Oh wow.
Now Blackpool is it's a world famous competition. Like if you go to Blackpool, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I just remember touching down in the UK, and we were in the airport, and we were like, you know, how do we get to the train to go to, or the tube to go to Blackpool? And people were literally telling us not to go. They were like, oh, don't go to Blackpool, go to London. And we were like, no, we have to go to Blackpool. And they're like, no, you don't want to go there. And I'm like, someone actually told me that Blackpool is not an accurate representation of the English people. And
see, that's the thing. I mean, it's most people outside of the UK don't realize this, because the UK is such a small place in comparison to the US and other places. But it is a very, very divided place.
Oh, really?
It's a very, very tribal and divided place, as small as it is. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so they were legitimately trying to dissuade us from going, and we certainly did see some funny things when we were over there. The actual place where the dancing took place, it was like Narnia. It was gorgeous. I
Wow.
mean, the building is I'm guessing hundreds of years old, and it was just this beautiful dance hall. But Blackpool itself is a little bit, you know, funny. I guess
Mhm.
they have a lot of stag and hen parties or something like that there. So that's
Yeah, yeah,
a
they
party
do.
area.
Yeah, it's a very big destination for things like that. It's a seaside town as well, so
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Every
Funnily
time we
enough,
went, what's that?
funnily enough, there's this I'm very much into like crime dramas, and there's this gangster that was on the FBI's most wanted list. He
Mm-hmm.
was from Boston. His name was Whitey Bulger, and he'd been on the run from the FBI for years, well over a decade, I think. And in the end, they found him in Blackpool. He'd been hiding out in Blackpool all the time.
That is hilarious. It's yeah. Both times I went, it was freezing cold. It was like
Yeah.
freakishly cold, and there was no way that we could enjoy the sea. Or
Oh no, you can't enjoy the sea there.
yeah.
Oh.
So I want to ask you, because you were talking about martial arts. I actually, one of the reasons I started to wake up was because I was I was legitimately secretly going to capoeira classes. I don't know if you've ever
Oh
heard of
wow,
that.
I haven't.
Um,
Is that like Brazilian jiu-jitsu?
it's a Brazilian martial art. It's very
Right,
acrobatic,
right,
but I
right.
liked it because it looked so much like dancing.
Yeah,
So yeah, I was having to secretly go to these classes,
yeah.
like pretend I was going to study with friends or something like that, so I could take martial arts classes. So, what style did you get into? Was it like mixed martial arts?
It was Krav Maga.
Oh, that's awesome. Very good.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
Israeli or
It's Israeli. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. And I absolutely loved it. And I was, excelling at it as well. I mean, the instructor would always like pick me out of the group to help him like in demonstrations and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
he wouldn't believe that I'd never done any martial arts training before.
yeah,
To tell him no, I've never done anything before. He didn't believe me because I just seem to have a natural aptitude for it.
yeah.
And apart from enjoying the physicality of it and the exercise, I really enjoyed. It gave me a lot of confidence as well.
Yes,
A lot of confidence, which I think is extremely important for anyone who's left the
yep,
organization, because one of the main tactics of the organization to keep people in is to completely crush your confidence.
yes,
Completely. Self-confidence is something that absolutely every extra JW that I've watched on YouTube struggles with.
yes.
Every single one. It's one of the couple of things that comes up over and over and over again with all of these experiences you hear. So I think doing something, I mean, it doesn't have to be martial arts, but doing something that improves your confidence and your assertiveness is a must, I would say, for anyone coming out of the witnesses.
Well, I think you've actually touched on something very important. You kind of jumped into one of the other questions, but this is perfect. Because I would almost say that someone who has a predisposition of confidence is not a good witness, or they
Absolutely.
don't make a good witness.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, I was never ever a confident person ever. But what made me a bad witness is that I have a very strong sense of being an individual. My
Yep,
my
that doesn't work.
individuality, my individuality is extremely important to me. I hate being pigeonholed into a neat little box that everybody I hate that, and that runs completely counter to what witness life is all about. You have to be ready, willing, and able to be a drone, and
Yep,
I just could never ever do that.
absolutely. So, like you were saying, confidence, the organization's effort to suppress any sort of creativity, any sort of individuality, so that you become part of the hive mind and you just echo what they
Absolutely.
say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So if you notice someone who starts to bud creatively or get a little bit confident, you can, start counting down the hours until they
Yeah.
stop being a witness because it'll be soon.
Yeah.
The end is nigh. Um, well, that's awesome. Well, hey, I would be a bad dance instructor if I didn't recommend that you and your girl go and take some ballroom dance lessons, because that
Oh,
is,
we'll definitely have to look into that. Yeah.
yeah, if your martial arts instructor thought that there's no way in the world you didn't take martial arts, it's probably because you're very maybe like a visual learner, like you can see something and quickly um, imitate it. So I would say that's pretty much dancing in a nutshell. So yeah, man, go take some salsa lessons or tango. Like that's
Yeah.
so fun for the two of you to like learn together. It's really
Yeah.
upbuilding.
Yeah. I'd love to. Yeah.
All right, and then so we already kind of jumped into. I was gonna say, what are you doing to heal after leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses? You already said, exploring hobbies. Was there anything else that you started to do to sort of start to heal yourself after you left the Jehovah's Witnesses?
Therapy.
Okay.
Definitely therapy. That had been essential for me. And I would highly recommend it to anyone who leaves, the quote unquote religion. I hate saying religion in reference to witnesses because it's not really a religion.
Thank you.
But
And I've actually appreciated you saying that in your videos. Because I will say what I found especially refreshing about you is you don't try and make anyone feel foolish about their faith.
oh no,
Um,
absolutely not. I
but
had enough of that when I was a witness. I don't want to continue doing it now that I'm not.
right, exactly. Um, it's just allow people to believe what they're going to believe.
Exactly. That's it. I
You
mean,
know,
I think that people have the right to believe whatever they want, but there's a difference between religious belief and religious practice. You know,
exactly.
there's a difference. Beliefs, they stay in your head. I mean, I don't have to like them. I don't have to agree with them, but as long as they stay in your head, they're not harmful. Practices, on the other hand, practices can sometimes be harmful, and that's what I have the problem with. It's harmful practices, not
Yes.
the beliefs themselves.
Yeah. Well, you were saying earlier, it's hard to describe to people the busyness of a
Yeah,
Jehovah's Witness, but it's literally like the only day I could think of possibly being free in a witness's life was Friday. Because it
yeah,
was like Monday, you were getting ready for Tuesday night study, Wednesday, getting ready for the Theocratic Ministry School,
yeah,
Friday, possibly nothing, but then Saturday was field service, and then Sunday, Watchtower.
yeah. Exactly,
And
exactly.
that's not including all of the, personal Bible study, or so I should say personal Watchtower study that you're supposed to be doing. So, yeah, the harmful
Then if you
practices.
work as well, if you work, you know, and then also if you're, a family man,
Yep.
you've got to prepare for the family worship and stuff like that. I mean, it's just the schedule is crazy.
Yeah. And those practices they beat you down and they wear on you over time.
Yeah,
And on top of it, you have things that are truly dangerous, like the rejection of blood transfusions. People going to jail for not accepting military service. There's things that they do that are far beyond what is written, and they've been called out for it, and then they just turn around and blame the witnesses for being overzealous. And I think that's the thing I get frustrated with the most, is that gaslighting that occurs
yeah,
on the top level to the
yeah.
rank and file, who are just trying to follow their direction. So when you went to a therapist, was it any old therapist, or was it someone who specialized in someone who's left a high control group, or how did that go?
No, I mean, I didn't seek out someone who specialized in leaving out. I mean, when I first started therapy, it was before I'd even woken up. I
Okay.
just knew that I needed help to be able to process what I was going through at the time. It was the height of coronavirus. In the beginning of 2020, I was having nightmares every night, thinking that this was the Great Tribulation and Armageddon's going to come, and my days are numbered, basically. I mean, by this time, I decided that I was never ever going to go back to the organization, Armageddon or not. I was 100% decided on that, but I still scared.
Yes.
Understandably, I was scared. So it was off the back of that I sought out a therapist. But in the process of my therapy, I started waking up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's incredible, but it is good advice, because the reason I say it's good advice is because um, therapy is demonized when
yeah,
you're with
absolutely.
they, and I think it's for that reason. The high control group knows that if you start going and getting help outside of them, finding confidence and getting sound reasoning and critical thinking skills, that's a formula for taking you out of the Jehovah's Witnesses. But that was amazing that you recognized that, because most people will never go that route because it's been so demonized.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, I'd already been through an experience where I was having problems that the elders weren't able to help with. So I no longer had the belief that all you need is Watchtower magazines and articles and to help you with any problem you go through. I no longer believe that anymore. So I knew that, you know, the value of outside help.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I mean, we made it through all of my questions. I would just say, are there any, you know, final thoughts or words of encouragement you would share with anyone who is either in the process of waking up or, you know, has made it this far into the video?
Yeah, I would definitely say research. If you're having doubts about the organization, research. Information is nothing to be feared.
Mm-hmm.
Information is benign. It's just facts. You know, there's no reason why you should be scared of doing unbiased, independent research. I mean, we do research before we buy a toothbrush. There's no reason why you shouldn't do research for something as you know, substantial to a person's life as their faith. You know, yeah.
So no, that's amazing advice. I've even said that to my own mom, you know, during conversations, because my whole side of the family is still in, and I've said to her, you know, if you have the truth, it should be able to withstand any scrutiny that
Absolutely,
you can throw at it.
Yeah.
So, you know, don't be fearful when it comes.
Yeah, Google is your friend.
Yeah, exactly. I think I heard somebody, I think it was JT and Lady C, they were like, be like the Bereans and Google it or something like that. So, no, that's really cool. Riley, I want to thank you so much for coming on the channel and sharing your waking up process. Some of the things that we said in here, only ex-Jehovah's Witnesses will get some of the references, but I do hope that the video has been helpful for anyone else who's outside of that community who just enjoys listening to these things. You know, maybe it'll be helpful in pointing people towards ways that they can also start to wake up from this false religion. Yeah, man, again, I just want to thank you so much for coming on. It's probably getting pretty late there, yeah?
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, huge thank you to Riley of Jexit 2020. I'm sure that your story and your waking up process is going to be a big help and a blessing to whoever is watching this video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hopefully this is the first of many interviews. I wish you guys a great day and God bless.